Robert here, and you're listening to episode 1 of the Unknown Pleasures podcast. Today we're going to talk about mystery songs, lost and found, and with me here is my co-host Ola.
Hello. Okay, so we're gonna talk about about lost songs. So could you tell me how the search for lost songs started?
Well, it started in the late 90s when forums and message boards were far more popular than well, actually at that time I think YouTube didn't exist or Facebook, so pretty much people conversed on forums, message boards, chat rooms.
Mm-hmm.
And of course back then there was chat rooms and forums for everything, but there was a few message boards I used to visit about 80s music, and there people would post songs that they were looking for, lyrics they had heard and they didn't know what the song was. At this time there wasn't a lot of sites that had lyrics and things like that, so even just nowadays you would say, well, just Google it, but you couldn't actually do that back then, because it was a bit, the internet didn't have as much information on it as it did now. There was no Wikipedia, so it all really started on these old-fashioned forums. So that's how it began, and of course in the YouTube age it became more specific. The things would actually start to go viral. Back when it was just message boards and forums, things didn't go viral because it was a specific set of people that were visiting these forums, fans of 80s music. It wasn't really heard by the general public, as it were.
Right. So, how actually these people made search for these songs?
Well, it was really, I think to answer this you have to go back to a different time, a time where people actually taped music onto cassette tapes off the radio. Mm-hmm. So we're talking about people who recorded things in the 80s and maybe even the 90s on blank cassette tapes. You'd be listening to the radio, and you'd hear a song you like, so you'd stick the cassette tape in and record it, or maybe you're recording different songs and making a mixtape for your friends. This is a totally different time, to people that I think are used to downloads or streaming. This was a completely different way that people really consumed music, and people were revisiting all this stuff, in the late 90s, early 2000s. They were digging out their old mixtapes, their old cassette tapes, and they were playing them, and then they were thinking, well, actually, who is this song? Who sang this? I can't quite remember, or I didn't write it down. So this is how really people started searching for it. And of course, we talked earlier about message boards and stuff like that. That was one way people tried to find it. When it got later on, you had YouTube, and then you had things like Shazam, phone apps that could pick up the songs. But the thing about these apps is it would only pick up popular songs that had been released. If we're talking about somebody who recorded something on a cassette tape 20, 30 years ago, it's not going to find that. And that's really when you're getting into the the mystery song territory, and then you're actually posting clips of the cassette tape on YouTube and asking people to identify it, and this is when actually some of these songs started to go viral and people really got interested in finding out who the artists were.
Mm-hmm. But you said many of these people actually heard the songs on the radio, so why didn't just ask some DJs?
Well, that's a good question, and the answer is that one, the DJ played so many songs that they couldn't remember, or they wouldn't be able to remember every single one. I mean, that's actually something some people did do. They tried emailing the DJ. Sometimes you wouldn't even know who the DJ was, but if they recorded the DJ or they maybe remembered who it was, you can drop them an email. But a lot of the time the DJ would come back and say, no idea. Mm-hmm. And of course, another interesting aspect is the radio stations themselves didn't actually keep playlists. Now that's probably another strange thing that you'd think now, because if you were to, if I wanted to know what was played on the radio last month, I could find that on the internet. Mm-hmm. The BBC and everything has got archives now. But if you wanted to find out what was played, in August 1984 on a German radio station, you would absolutely have no way of knowing that. The very few radio stations kept their archives. Some were unfortunately destroyed, maybe accidentally. But certainly, that makes the search even more difficult for older music.
Yeah, quite surprising that actually. Like you would think, like back then, they would have some kind of record of what was on the program. But anyway, I know that there was some good news about the mystery song. There was one song that was discovered recently. Did you found out your community, basically your online community, found out who's the artist of one of the songs?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, there was a song called "For My Murder." It sounds a bit gruesome. It was a song that when we heard the lyrics, we thought it was about Jack the Ripper, and in the end, it was proved that that's what the subject was. But this was a song that was, like we discussed earlier, this was a song that was recorded on a radio station called Radio Trent, and the person that taped it couldn't even remember what year he taped it, and he never recorded the DJ either, so it was a complete mystery. It was uploaded to YouTube, and not every song goes viral, but I think the song was so good that it quickly started to go viral. And by the latest count, it racked up 33k views on YouTube. And that was just that one video. There was other people posting the song as well on YouTube, so it got quite popular in a sense. And people everywhere, people were posting it in various Facebook groups, things like that. And everybody said, "Oh, I love the song, but I have no idea who it is." And this kind of search went on for over a year. And we thought, are we ever going to find the people that sang this song? But actually, we got lucky. There was on one of the YouTube videos, there was a comment from a person called Alistair, who said that, I think I know this song. And we have had people in the past that say, "Oh yeah, I think I remember it," but he never went more than that. But he actually was quite confident he had this in his collection, so he said, "Look, let me listen to my tapes, I'll get back to you." And then he came back and says, "Yes, I found it. It's by a group called 3D Efficiency," which is a pun on efficiency. And we discovered it then. It was absolutely brilliant.
Yeah, but this is not just the only song that... it's not the only mystery song that was searched for. There is some other songs that are quite famous.
Yeah, there's a few other famous ones. One that was discovered, and one it's still to be discovered. One of the most famous ones was a song that was called "The Second Time Around" because the chorus was "Second Time Around." That began actually in the early 2000s in the 80s internet forums. People were posting it everywhere, every day, and asking who this was, and it gained quite a big following. No one could identify it. Now, how it was eventually found was that it went, as soon as YouTube became popular, it went viral on YouTube. And as soon as that happened, a radio station picked up on it, and they actually played the song and says, this is gone viral on YouTube. Do our listeners know who it is? And actually, this was a Swedish radio station, by the way, and it just so happens that the actual singer was Swedish, because a person phoned in and says, I know who the singer is. It's actually Johan Lindell, and I've got the album, and that's when it was solved. And it's quite funny because actually Johan Lindell, he was totally surprised, that the song had become really popular, because he doesn't use the internet at all. He doesn't even have an email address, so he was totally unaware that this song, was actually been discovered. The other one is about the same age. It started again in the early 2000s, and it was a song that's called Like the Wind, and this is a bit of a conundrum because it's still, despite the fact it's been on television, been on radio, went viral on YouTube several times, it still hasn't been discovered. And it's actually called now the most mysterious song on the internet, simply because no one can find the artist.
Wow, quite amazing, I would say. Well, tell me something more about that song that was discovered just recently. I know that you spoke with musicians. Yeah,
that's right. Yeah, so afterwards, when it was discovered, we just decided I'm going to contact the artist, really just to get the lyrics and find out more about the song. Now, it's always a bit risky, this, because you don't know how an artist is going to react when you tell them, we found this song of yours. Some musicians want to forget their past, or they're not comfortable discussing it, or some people just maybe think it's strange that you're asking this, or they'll ignore you. But actually, the guitarist John Reynolds, he was absolutely brilliant. He went into a lot of detail about the song. He even went to the YouTube video itself and posted a comment to give information on the song. He said it was about Jack the Ripper, and he went into about the musicians that recorded it and things like that. So yeah, it was really great. And we also spoke to the singer and the lyricist as well. So yeah, it was.
What about the lyrics? There was a quite funny story about that.
Yeah, it's funny and a bit tragic at the same time. But when I was talking to the guitarist, he said that the lyricist, vocalist, Richie, he had actually just about a month before, when he was renovating his house, found the actual handwritten lyrics with the guitar chords, and he threw it out, thinking it's never, this is just some relic from my past. And the crazy thing is, if he had discovered the song a month ago, he probably would have kept that and sent it to us.
Oh well, I think you'd rather keep it. Yeah, and there is that song on that CD you've got from the guitarist? No.
Yeah, so the John sent me a CD with that song, and also a demo version of that song. So yeah, that was really good as well. I mean, these songs haven't been officially released in any format, so it was really good to hear them. Yeah,
so what do you think is gonna happen next now with all this song and with the band? Are they still professional musicians? What do they do?
The guitarist he did music for a little bit. He was in a band in the 90s.
Okay. So the musicians, yeah.
Yeah, so John, the guitarist, he did music for a little while later. In the 90s, he played in a band. He performed a benefit concert in the Ukraine. But after that, he went to university as a teacher for a bit, and then he got into some other non-music business. Richie, the vocalist, he done a kind of cabaret circuit for a while. And also, I think now at the moment he's still doing a solo, works as a solo performer, but more just kind of performing cover versions of 80s songs, in concerts. So who knows, maybe he'll start to perform For My Murder now it's been rediscovered.
Yeah, he should include that in his repertoire, I guess. Right. Is there anything else you would like to add to today's episode?
No, I think it's been hopefully a good episode. I hope everybody's enjoyed it. Yeah.
Okay. So,
yeah, look out for future episodes. Who knows? We may maybe delve more into these lost songs a bit more detail. Maybe have a few interviews.
Yeah, that would be lovely, actually.
Okay, thanks everyone for listening, and goodbye.